Call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled Greer City Council meeting called and convened this evening, July 13th, 2021. I'd like to ask Councilmember Lee DUMAS, if he would, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation for council. If you would, please join us in standing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this great night and this great city that we get to live in, and we're fortunate enough to live in and to serve in as a council. Thank you specifically tonight for the employees receiving recognition for their time and service, and for the special retirement tonight too, Lord. And we ask that you go with our employees and continue to bless them and to keep them safe in their service for this great city. We pray for your guidance and direction tonight, Lord, and may our actions be pleasing in your sight. In your precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Duncan, do we have anybody to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
With that then, council, we will move to the minutes of the council meeting held on June the 22nd, 2021. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Indeed, as Mr. Dumas mentioned earlier, we have several recognitions to do this evening. It is always a delight for us to be able to recognize those employees that have reached milestones in their employment with the city, whether or not that be 5 years or it be a retirement. And we have the opportunity to do both this evening. And so I would like to ask the administrator and DWAYNE Brown if they would join me at the front, please. Yeah, we wanted to say something nice about him, but it took us a while to come up with We have tonight a certificate of appreciation and says, "Congratulations upon your retirement from the city of Greer. Presented in appreciation of 26 years of dedicated service to the city of Greer, June 16th, 1995 through July 10th, 2021, to DWAYNE Brown." DWAYNE, thank you for your service and for all that you've done for our city. You have been a good ambassador for our city, and we certainly appreciate your service. And we would like to present you with a gift as well. And I know your family is here. I think you've got some family here. Do you know it is? No, not extended family. Okay. All right. Okay. We certainly wanted to recognize them, and we will. To your extended fire family, thank you a lot. Anything you'd like to add?
I just appreciate it. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And it is a family. So I'm not going to miss them because I am going to come back around. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. You would think this is the first time I've ever done this. We are indeed proud of our employees, as I said earlier, and certainly appreciate those that have given enough time to be in the position to retire. But you got to start somewhere to make that happen. And so from time to time, we like to commend and recognize those employees that are on that journey. And so tonight we have a resolution recognizing and commending City of Greer employees. It says, whereas the City of Greer endeavors to recognize and reward its dedicated and faithful employees, whereas Dana Chandler has worked in the police department for 5 years, Denise Livingston has served in the municipal court for 5 years, Colby Means has served in the fire department for 5 years, Robert Brian Stevenson has served in the building and development standards department for 5 years, Elizabeth Adams has served in administration for 10 years, Josh Holzheimer has served in the fire department for 10 years, Justin Miller has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 10 years, Ann Cunningham has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 15 years, Diego Gomez has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 15 years, and Chris Forster has served in the Police Department for 25 years. These employees have served in a distinguished and professional manner. Now be therefore resolved that the City Council of the City of Greer, South Carolina, in a meeting duly assembled, wishes to officially recognize and commend these employees for their distinguished and dedicated service which they have performed. Be it further resolved that the City of Greer hereby rewards these dedicated employees with a certificate of appreciation and administrative day off with pay approved this day, the 13th of July. As I read those names, I could hear the people behind me talking about, oh my gosh, they've been here that long. Time flies, believe me. When I read this the other day, I couldn't believe some of the names on there that had been here. I wasn't going to say this, but I remember Justin Miller was still playing basketball up there at Greer High School. Dang, if he hadn't gone to college and been here 10 years. So they're growing up on us, you know? Yeah, they're slipping up on us. So we would like to recognize these folks, and I will call your name if you will step up. And if you'll stay with us just a minute, we'll take an opportunity to recognize you. Dana Chandler. Thank you, man. We appreciate your service. Denise Livingston. Denise, thank you. Colby Means. Colby, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Josh Holzheimer. Thank you, sir. Yeah, there we go. Balances out a little bit. Justin Miller. Justin, thank you. Appreciate it. Ann Cunningham. There was a collective gasp when I said you've been here 15 years. You know? Time flies when you're having fun. Diego Gomez. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And Chris Forster. Join me in a round of applause, please. All right. 10 person.
Oh, God.
Thought we were gonna recreate another scene from there.
Dang, Riley. Oh, gosh.
Mr. Merriman, I believe the floor is yours at this point, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. A few things tonight. First, the work that we had contracted to be completed on Leesburg Peak is complete, or probably, if we would look at percentage, about 99% complete. So if you'll remember, we were under a consent order from DHEC to do some work up on Leesburg Peak. The site has been stabilized. Everything looks good. So there's a few administrative things to tie up, but that work has been done. Moving on to other work that we're going to be doing, the Blackwell Road Bridge will be closed. I believe it was closed today. Robert, there you go, Steve, it was closed today? Okay. I know we had a tree fall and block it, so it kind of delayed things a little bit. That closed the road, I guess, before we officially did it. But that Blackwell Road Bridge work will be done today. The road is closed today. A couple other reminders. Election filing is this Thursday at noon. We will be also having our Moonlight movies every Thursday night throughout the summer, so that's been going well. There's two other meetings I want to let you know about. First of all, there's a meeting at the Needmore Center on Monday night at 6 p.m. This is with GCRA, and this is to have a community meeting to discuss the renovations on the tennis courts at Needmore. So that's at 6 o'clock at the Needmore Rec Center. Let's see, Police National Night Out, August 3rd. This is something that our police have been actively engaged in, a little bit different this year, whereas we've kind of done it in one place. We're going to spread it out into 4 different areas of the city. And this is August 3rd from 6 to 8. The Area 1 is at the Needmore Rec Center. Area 2 is at Greentown Park. Area 3 will be the Suber Road Baptist Church. And Area 4 will be the Center for the Arts. So again, August 3rd, 6 to 8, National Night Out with the Greer Police Department. And finally, let's see, make sure I've got everything. And then just two issues. One, the first is just to update you. When we were discussing the budget, there was a couple issues that came up specific to our putting on a QRV, and it was passed in the budget. But some of the discussion around that was the availability of ambulances and paramedics and advanced life support throughout the county. I do want to let you know that Prisma Health will be putting on 2 ALS, full-time ALS units, ambulance units, starting pretty soon. Started yesterday. Okay, thank you. Today is Tuesday. And then one, a power truck basically to run on peak hours between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So Prisma is putting on some units to help Greenville County. I know that has been an issue of concern for council. Just by way of update, I just want to let you know that that's the case. And the other thing is just an informational issue as well. You will notice that we are putting in 3 underground garbage units up at adjacent to the parking garage. This is going to be on city-owned property behind Abbott's and Great Bay and Lancanto and that side of Poinsett. Obviously, those units are going to be kind of new. We've got one in the city. I think that's the one behind Grace. That's the only one we've got, but we are working to put those in. But staff is very interested in developing a program whereby we can work with local business owners, specifically in the downtown area, to install these underground units. There's a number of benefits to the installation of these, not limited to just the aesthetics of not having a dumpster with a dumpster enclosure. 2, odor. 3, just general cleanliness, et cetera. So these things are hugely beneficial to clean up a downtown area. And so we are, as staff, working on a program that we're going to present to council whereby we can partner with these businesses downtown to get these installed. There's no action yet that I'm asking council to take, but I did want you to be aware that we see the benefit of it and we kind of want to pursue that a little further. Mr. Mayor, with that, that concludes my report unless there are any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to say that Mr. Merriman mentioned the National Night Out and our police department being involved with the entire city. With all the things, all of the issues that's gone across the country, and some of the suggestions is more community policing, and I kind of throw my hands up saying, we've been doing that for years. I mean, many years. And so, just police department, great job, keep up the good work.
What hours is that event on?
6 to 8 on the 3rd.
Thank you. Others? Well, with that, we'll move to appointments of boards and commissions. You'll see under the Board of Zoning Appeals, we have a opening in District 2.
I'm gonna have that at the next
Okay,
week.
that'll be fine. And then I believe we have a nomination on District 4.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Mr. Septon for his service for the BZA. He had worked up to being the president on that board and was doing a fabulous job and just moved right outside the city. And so just wanted to thank him for all of his hard work and his leadership with the BZA. But we got a good candidate tonight, Mr. Mike Norris. Mike lives in Burgess Hills with me, and we talked about the position. He talked with Brandon McMahan and feels comfortable with it. He's a Wichita State grad, focusing on entrepreneurship and marketing, and he's a risk advisor with Scott Insurance and does some sales and business development with them. And I think he's more than capable of handling this role. So I'd like to nominate Mr. Mike Norris tonight.
Comes as a nomination. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Floor is open for any questions. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council of the Election Commission is a commissioner short. Those are 3 members that are named by council at large. So if you want to offer a recommendation, I'll be glad to take that. Would be interested in talking to you about that responsibility and how we might best fill that if you have any ideas. On the Planning Commission, we do have a opening there as well. Mr. Hopper has information in that regard.
Yes, Mayor and Council, Tom Creasy has served for the last year on the Planning Commission. Actually, I finished out the term that I resigned when I had joined council. Has done a solid job. In talking to Mr. Creasy and getting some other input, we haven't seen the last of Mr. Creasy, my feeling is, but we really felt the need to get a voice from south of 85. And so in looking around and talking with Mr. Creasy and others, we've identified Mr. Ryan Acerno as a great candidate for that role. Mr. Acerno works for C3 here in downtown, but lives down close to Pelham Medical Center. It just finished up the leadership Greer class, has a desire to really jump into the community. I feel like has a mindset to help us fill this role well on the Planning Commission. So I'd like to put his name forward as a nominee for District 3 on Planning Commission.
Comes as a nomination. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Floor is open for discussion or questions.
He has a BS from the University of South Carolina, so he has to be good.
Anything relevant.
You know he wasn't gonna let that go.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
It's football season. Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to new business, the first of which is in regards to the purchase of an engine pumper for the fire department. Fire department seeking approval to purchase an engine pumper for the fire department from Pierce Manufacturing. Josh Holzheimer joins us tonight for this discussion.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for having me. Yes, we come before you requesting approval to purchase one engine for the fire department from Pierce Manufacturing through HGAC. Consortium National Procurement Service for the price of $644,762. I apologize for that typo. It's $762, not $732. It was budgeted in the budget, and that is the same amount that was budgeted. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Council, for the purpose of discussion, will entertain a motion to receive.
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion or questions.
How many quotes did we get?
We just went through Pierce through HGAC. We got one through Consortium. They do consortium quotes to do that.
All right, explain to me how that, did they,
They do the procurement work for you.
so they've already looked at it?
Yeah, so this is a co-op where they do the work and they do the bids, and it's not dissimilar to state contract.
So they looked at other.
Yeah, Houston government, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may recall, we purchased the ladder truck under that.
Right, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Others? Ms. Duncan, in a motion, do we need to amend the purchase amount, or is that satisfactory that it's listed
I think that'll be
incorrect? Okay, all right. Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
No, it's right there.
Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Aaronwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Mr. Holzheimer will stay with us in regards to the donation of a rescue truck to Greenville County Emergency Response Team.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor and members of council. We were contacted last year by Rick Mullinax, who is the Special Operations Coordinator for Greenville County Emergency Response Team. He is a county employee, and they asked us about purchasing our rescue truck. They want to put it here it'll stay here in the city of Greer, but it will also respond to assist in areas outside of Greer for the response team. It'll carry hazmat equipment and rescue equipment, and we don't have anything on this side of town for that response team. They got rid of more of a trailer response and moved it to rolling stock, where they have apparatus stationed throughout different county departments to respond those as needed. For instance, Greenville City did the same thing with a hazmat truck they replaced last year. They donated it to the county to help them keep additional resources on that to deploy throughout the county as needed. We do not intend on replacing the rescue truck. It comes up in 2025 to be replaced, but we do not recommend replacing it. We recommend donating it to the Greenville County Emergency Response Team.
Comes as a recommendation from staff. Do I hear a motion to receive?
So motion.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion or questions in regards to the donation of a rescue truck to Greenville County Emergency Response Team?
How will the truck be staffed?
It will be staffed if they need it, they will request it, and we will take staff from our staff to respond it. We have members on our staff that are members of the ERT team. You may recall a few years ago, we had a hazmat incident at Honeywell, and Greenville City actually sent their hazmat truck here to do the same thing to support us at that time.
And so we would, for instance, the members at that station would staff that truck.
Would be trained to be able to staff it, yes, sir.
If
I'm
that
sorry.
if their truck is out, what, does it just roll down again to the
They'll-
next?
The next person that
Okay.
can take it.
Now, why don't we have to have a rescue truck or service? That served as a service truck at one time.
It did.
So how does that affect us?
With ISO, the ladder truck meets all the requirements for it.
As a reminder to council, this is going to be heavy rescue, which Greenville County backed out of years ago and said, we're going to turn it over to the fire department. So
Comfortable with it?
well, if that's the way it's going to be done, yes, I think the county tax dollars need to have a hand in it. I assume that the county tax dollars will now, because they're gonna take over maintenance. So,
We had, if I can, they put some air packs on there that were newer than our air packs before, and that we had them on that truck over the past 2 years to help support that, and had been responding with them to assist as needed with our staff before. They know that resources is available, and they would like to take it over.
So whenever it needs to be replenished, that'll be county.
That'll be the county's responsibility.
Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Request for funding for traffic calming devices on Lemon Creek Drive. Mr. Rue, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council. You may recall back in October of last year, I came before you to request waiving the criteria for volume on Lemon Creek Drive to install speed bumps. The residents have since obtained all necessary signatures and approvals. We've identified 4 speed bump locations, and now, per our traffic calming policy, final step is funding approval from City Council. City Public Service staff, our crews plan to do the work to install the speed bumps. We're estimating about $1,200 for materials only to do that work. And just for reference, we spoke with Greenville County, contractor they use installs them at $4,000 per speed bump on a contract basis. And per our policy, funding's on a first come, first served basis. And that is a line item in our paving fund. And that's all the information I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Was this adding additional speed bumps on Lemon Creek?
These are new. So several years ago, there were rubber speed bumps. The road was repaved. Those were removed and not reinstalled. So
They didn't elect to have them reinstalled at that time?
I think they asked for them and just got put off and finally initiated the process and got everything going, is my understanding.
How many speed?
For the purpose of further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Thanks. Okay, floor is open.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yes.
How many speed humps are you going to install out there?
We've identified 4 and got approval from all adjacent property owners as per our policy, so 4 total.
Are you saying 1,200 per?
That's correct.
We're saying speed humps. Are these tables, or, I mean, I don't want to get too technical.
So travel
I know
length-
there's lots of different verbiage for what they are.
So I don't know the semantics of hump versus bump, but the design we're planning to use is 14-foot travel length, 3 inches thick. And that's per SCDOT traffic calming guidelines, using their design.
Okay. 14 feet travel, okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a table as opposed to
Yeah.
maybe to a long.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Similar to what's out on American Legion Road, Mount Vernon Road, recently installed by the county.
Others?
Council, you may remember, this is my neighborhood, and I actually live on Lemon Creek. My neighbors are the ones who initiated this. I saw, the traffic problem becoming more and more of an issue. My neighbors initiated this process, saw it through with a couple of stops and starts, but what really pushed for this to get rebooted and finished quickly is at the beginning of June, there was a utility pole at the top of Lemon Creek that was struck by a driver going at a very high rate of speed, kept on going, knocked it over. Even through the spring as school, started normalizing more out at the high school, the cut through from Gap Creek out to Wade Hampton, we saw that increasing exponentially. Only anticipate that to become more and more as we have more going on up toward the country club and the golf course in that area. In the meantime, while the residents were finishing up the process, we did ask our police department to come out and sit. And on the 24th of June, I believe it was, the morning, just a random Thursday morning, officer came out and sat for a couple hours. Several pretty good speeders. One citation issued for 60 miles an hour coming down the road. So this is a real issue that this is one piece of it fixing for the residents. So appreciate your consideration.
Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank
sir.
you.
First reading of ordinance number 29-2021. This is an ordinance to amend the City of Greer land development regulations by repealing and replacing in its entirety Article 8 road classifications and design standards. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you know, the city, I have to tell you, the city's been experiencing record growth the past 5 to 6 years, and with that growth comes change. And currently, your planning staff is in the process of an extensive update of the zoning ordinance and the land development regulations to meet the needs of our growing city. That effort's going to take about a year to complete, and given that we are growing rapidly and our infrastructure, especially roads, is being impacted daily, staff felt that we should address Article 8, which is the road design standards of the land development regulations promptly and not wait a year until the full development of the UDO process. So we employed the services of a local transportation engineering consultant to review Article 8 and recommend any updates and changes that should be considered to modernize our standards. The changes were generally minor in nature as text was updated and clarified, and a few of the design parameters were tweaked for modern design. Specifically, the revised ordinance streamlined text and references the latest editions of SCDOT and other nationally recognized manuals for guidance. It makes our standards consistent with DOT and ASST standards with consideration of county standards, and it also removes some old text applying only to roads within subdivisions so that it now applies to all roads in the city. These changes have been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission, so tonight we're here for your consideration and approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Comes as a recommendation from staff. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
This comment is not directly related to this, but we, as a city, if we know that there are roads that are going to be a connector road, we probably should look to, in the initial design, installing traffic calming, like traffic circles, things like that.
It's absolutely a valid point. When I was looking through this, I was surprised that we, already addressed some of those issues in what we have, but I think the update is well worth the time and the effort, and the more tools that we have here to address some of these issues, I think are going to be to our advantage. Yeah. Others?
A lot of cities are doing, like you said, using those traffic circles to calm that traffic.
Questions, comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's move to first reading of ordinance number 30-2021. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by William Freeman located on Old Jones Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of DRD for said property. Mr. McMahan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The applicant is requesting to annex a portion or the property at the corner of Old Jones and D. Young with the request for a DRD zoning for a future industrial use type building that's currently going to be a spec building. They don't have a tenant in mind at this time. This is a current zoning map of the area. To the west is Project Apollo. That is the large Becknell site, and the subdivision to the east is Freeman Farm subdivision. Here's the future land use map. This property is next to mixed use employment and kind of adjacent to our residential area. Here's a current street view. And here's the proposed site plan. What they are proposing along Old Jones right here is they will have a 50-foot wide berm, 5 feet in height with landscaping to kind of protect those residents along that area. 25-foot berm here, 25-foot berm wide here with landscaping to protect those two residents. That's one of the reasons staff has recommended them to DRD, and they felt that it was a good option for them to do DRD to allow for those buffers to be put in. This will go to Planning Commission next Monday, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, sir.
For the purpose of the discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion or questions. Can we go back one slide, Mr. McMahon? Yeah, there we go.
Or do you want the satellite version?
No. Actually, that was the one I was looking for. I just wanted to get the proximity of the subdivision there.
What, they're going, they want, I-1.
So with this, they're requesting DRD, and what they'll do within that DRD statement of intent, they're going to list the uses that they want. It's going to be kind of a combination of I-1 and S-1. Some of the I-1 uses I think they're going to remove are like chemical manufacturing and stuff like that. That's not really appropriate near residential.
The mixed employment across the road, what is that?
It's one of our character areas. So within that, you can allow for light advanced industrial type use, service type use, your kind of multifamily. Those are kind of the primary uses within the mixed employment.
Would this be considered mixed employment? I know we're doing DRD, but that means mixed employment is not a zoning, right?
It's not a zoning. This is just for the future land use map. It's what we designate the area as, is a mixed employment area.
So that parcel is the area right there is currently zoned in the city?
This is in the city, and these properties right here are within the city. This property is the one that's requesting annex in.
That's I-1, mixed employment.
Yes, sir. This is all I-1 right here. Kind of once you get across Brockman and Kleinman, there's some S-1 over that way.
Yeah, I think given the proximity to their neighbor across the interstate there, that the demand for I-1, S-1, and other logistics, distribution, even light manufacturing is going to be the predominant request we're going to get for that area.
I think what you'll probably see staff do is kind of try to work with these developers and go the DRD route so we can ensure those buffers are in place. Right now, the current ordinance only requires a 6-foot high hedge. The UDO, we are looking at, the 50-foot wide buffers along residential with a berm. So that's kind of where we're going with that. This developer was more than willing to go the DRD route.
Others? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading of ordinance number 31-2020. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of properties owned by UPI Investments located at 0 Gary Armstrong Road from C2 to C3. Mr. McMahon?
Yes, sir. These are two parcels kind of at the corner of Gap Creek and Gary Armstrong. This is an aerial view of the property. Just below that is LKQ Pick Your Part. Here's the current zoning showing C2 to the south is PD. That's where they did the industrial kind of stuff back in the day. Future land use map, this is a suburban commercial corridor. And here's kind of a current street view. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for this on June 29th. They did make a recommendation of approval of the C3 zoning request. Sorry about that. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Again, can you go back a slide there and give us some reference quickly if you can? Yeah, there we go.
So here's Gap Creek Road. This is LKQ that kind of comes out. I think there's Dollar General once you get a little further down here. And this comes out by the old Dr. Patch vet clinic.
You know what do they want to do with this site, do you know?
The applicant is wanting to do some commercial development. He was, I think, when he talked to Planning Commission, put several buildings on the sites between the two. I believe he is here tonight. If you'd have specific questions you'd like to ask him, sir.
Thank you.
But I believe they're going to be just commercial buildings for kind of flex space. I don't think he has a tenant in mind yet.
Oh, these are spec buildings?
That's from my understanding.
Sir, if you'll come to the podium, please, if you wish. I mean, it's your option. I didn't recognize you back there waving.
I know, I've been trying to hide from you back here.
I didn't even call you sir when I recognized you.
Oh, that's just Tony.
Well, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
To go from C2 to C3, you want to give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, just discussing with the city, that's just a better zoning for out there for the type tenants. I'm looking to put up some pre-engineered buildings out there, 10 to 20,000 square foot. Just be kind of distribution type tenants, contractors, people like that was what I'm looking for. 2 driveway entrances, one off of Gary Armstrong. We're very preliminary in the civil design, but I'm trying to get 9 buildings on there. Okay, so there'll be a detention pond. M&J's is right across the street. That's what everybody knows.
Yeah.
But anyway, there'll be a detention pond in this corner and one down here, and then just a main driveway up feeding. There'll be 3 pieces on this parcel here and 6 on the parcel going back to the back here.
A fair bit of elevation headed back that direction towards Greer, is it not?
That property crowns off pretty heavy right there on the line, so it'll be a lot of cut there and fill back both ways.
It's an old farmhouse or something up there.
Yeah. Got an old chimney standing right there about there. The interesting story on that is the guy that owned that could walk all the way to City Hall and never leave his property. I don't know if that was Gary Armstrong, but.
All right. Any other questions, comments in that regard?
What type of buffering or screening is already there backing up to the homes on Yamasee?
Your neighborhood, yes, sir. There is trees already there, and I'll have to amend that too on my side.
Obviously, but just to state it, that would be.
Right, there'll be a 20-foot setback on that property line that backs up to your neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
How do you get an address of 0?
It's been there a while.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Council? Comments, questions? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
We don't have a motion, Mayor.
Oh, excuse me. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second. All right, now we do. Questions or comments? Any additional information? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we have the first and final reading of Resolution Number 10, 2021. This is a resolution pursuant to Section 4-1-170, Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, is amended consenting to the placement of certain property within the corporate limits of the city of Greer and adjoined industrial and business park of Spartanburg and Cherokee counties. Mr. DEATON joins us this evening for that discussion. The floor is yours, sir.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Reno DEATON with the Greer Development Corporation. The request before you this evening is to designate parcels within Clarius Park as multi-county industrial park properties. You might recall Council had an opportunity to approve a project agreement for Clarius Park. This resolution incorporates 2 of those parcels within the park, 67 acres and the 15 acres additions to that agreement and to the park. A number of benefits and things that are associated with multi-county industrial park designation. One that I'll highlight is that it enhances the job development tax credit So those companies that ultimately locate in the park, that create qualifying net new jobs over the course of a year, enhance their tax credit. That is a South Carolina income tax credit or insurance premium tax credit. Happy to answer any questions that I can for you with respect to this request.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So,
And a second. Floor is open for discussion.
Reno, is this, agreement because there are tenants or there is someone that wants to take down the property and this is part of the development package?
As you might recall, our agreement with Clarius was for them to construct some speculative Class A industrial buildings on the site. They've built the first 500,000 square feet and currently are marketing that for a tenant. Multi-county industrial park has become typically fairly standard with respect to the sort of selection of incentives that we typically offer for projects of this size and variety. And so our development agreement contemplated council's consideration of MCIP designation for these parcels. So we don't yet have a tenant. We're working very hard to find one.
When they get those tax credits, do they have to specify how many jobs they're going to create?
10 net new jobs per year. And so, for example, year one, company can create 10 jobs. In year two, to receive the credit again, it's got to be 10 net new. So at least 20 jobs total at that point in time. But it's a credit they continue to receive year after year, depending upon the number of net new jobs that they create.
Do they specify the type of jobs or the pay for the jobs? And do they have to create a job that generates X amount?
That's correct. To qualify for the jobs, those qualifying jobs have to pay at least the county average. In Spartanburg County, I believe that's $16.85 an hour.
Others? Questions? Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Final item of new business this evening is the first and final reading of Resolution Number 12-2021. This is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding for street excavations and repairs with the Greer Commission of Public Works. Mr. Merriman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. This is, has been an ongoing discussion, really almost for the last year or so, as we have looked at not only our comprehensive street maintenance program, but just the quality of our streets in general. One of the larger issues that we have seemed to have is the street cuts made not only by Greer CPW and repaired by contract labor, but other street cuts that are made within the municipal boundaries. In discussing options to just better our performance and the length and the life of our roads, we have engaged with CPW and have come to an agreement that the street cuts that they make on our streets, we will be the contractor to repair our streets. So what you have before you today is the agreement that we have between the city and CPW reflecting just that. This is a one-year agreement whereby the Greer Commission for Public Works actually prepays the city to do a X amount of whatever's required throughout a year and make those repairs. And of course, this stipulates some of the expectations of both parties. I'm excited about it. I think it's a great opportunity not only to just further the partnership between us and our friends at CPW, but really get us in more control over what happens on our streets and kind of put that in the destiny of those streets in our hands. And with so many new roads that we've got coming in year after year upon annexation and annexation, it's going to be more and more important for us to be in control of that. So I think this is a good first step, and I'm looking forward to working on this with CPW and, of course, our folks in public services.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Mr. Merriman.
Yes, sir.
For clarification, is this all streets within the city limits, or is this just Greer-owned streets?
These are Greer-owned streets. These are these city streets.
Okay, so state-owned and county-owned will still be at the behest of whoever does the work?
Yes, sir.
Commission.
Yes, sir.
Others? Comments? Questions? Discussion?
You said they're gonna prepay us, so how are we coming up with an estimate on that amount?
So what we have done is, in working with CPW and discussing it with them, we took an estimate of annual street cuts. Now, obviously, year over year, it changes. You know, there's some years more, some years less. You know how that works. So what we did was we took a benchmark number and then assigned a value to that number. Some of the road cuts are larger, some of them are smaller, but we've come up with an average size that we put a dollar amount to, and then anything above that, we've put a dollar amount to. So if we get to a point at the end of the year where through our record keeping and working with the CPW that we perhaps have done less than we've collected, we will remit the refund back to CPW, or in the event that we have done more than we have initially estimated, we've assigned a value to every cut beyond that based on the size and depth that they will then remit a payment back to us.
Mr. Mayor, I like the agreement. I think they've answered a lot of questions here and covered a lot of problems that have been open source for us for a while. But I think it's a good step. Time will tell about tweaking it and about the actual money involved, but I like the spirit behind the agreement. I think it's good.
Others?
I think so too, that's good. And I think it's good for the taxpayers because paving those roads and seeing them come in and cutting, and it's it's just, dipped. And so I think this is a good first step.
And appreciative for the CPW for working with us.
Absolutely.
And we're self-performing this, right?
We are self-performing, Mr. Grant, and it's funny. In deference to Steve, I told him when I got here that, man, we're really going to get after public services, and I'll tell you what, I dropped this on him, and he was like, and he's got great attitude about it. He says, well, we'll get it done. So, and I have all the confidence with our folks in public services, and certainly with Steve and Robert at the helm. I think we're going to be in good shape.
No excuses now. That's right. Council, we have a motion and a second. Did I hear any further discussion in this regard?
That's when Steve says, thanks, guys.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, that concludes the regular portion of this meeting. We do have an item for an executive session. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I do apologize. We will not have a need for executive session this evening.
We have no need for executive session this evening. With that, having no further stated business, we stand adjourned.